And right now it's time for that time when we have our special guest. Easter is a special time of year, and our thoughts turn to the life and times of Jesus Christ. Therefore, tonight our special guest is Yasa Lavie. Yasa is a medium. He can channel through to the times and the lives of the Essene people who cared for and prepared Jesus for his mission here on earth. We welcome Yasa Lavie as our special guest on The Beat Goes On. Yasha Lavie, welcome to The Beat Goes On. Wonderful to have you here today.
Thank you.
Now, of all the jobs or careers or work in the world, yours is a little bit different, isn't it?
Quite different.
You're a medium. Do you see it as a gift? It's a gift?
Oh, it is a gift. I never studied it, I never learned it. I started to see that I have this ability when I was 37 years old. I had 2 weeks ago, I had my 50th birthday, so it's quite a while ago. And no, I in a way, I wish that I could study it and then I can actually teach it, but I can't.
Now, did you get a fright, or were you worried the day that it first happened to you? So, what's happening to me?
Well, I remember I was sitting here in Auckland in a house, in my house, on a kind of a beautiful armchair. I was very, very tired after a whole day of work, and I closed my eyes, and I can only say suddenly, I started to see like a film. And I never smoke a cigarette, and I'm not on drugs, and I don't have hallucination, and I never been in mental hospital. So there was nothing of me that will be any kind of a suspicion of something is wrong with me. And I see a very, very clear images of mountains, of desert. And I was thinking I'm somewhere in Greece, so the first word that came to me was Bulgaria. I do not know why.
Yeah.
And each time I saw these films, each time I heard voices, and gently and slowly this, as I say, the group of spirits started to talk to me.
A group of spirits?
Yes, they're
part of the Essenes.
Yeah.
Tell us about the Essenes, because
okay. What I'm going to tell you now, I'm going to tell you through what I channel, not through what I ever read or ever heard, because the Essenes told me in the third time that they came to talk to me, don't read anything. So till now, for 14 years, I haven't read one book.
Wow.
Well, there were a group of about 3,000 people. They lived in Israel around the time of 200 BC to 100 AD. They came to the planet Earth as a group in order to prepare the arrival of Jesus. In other words, they had a very, very clear intention in their arrival. And the idea for them is, they said through my channeling, that Jesus lived in the caves for a period of years when he was young, around 10 years. They basically fed him, they taught him, they accommodated him. And by the time he was 17 or 18, he left the caves and he started to show the truth to the people of Israel. And from my point, and this is a very, very personal thing, I see Jesus as an Essene man. If you ask me really, what does it mean actually an Essene, except the actual word, what they actually preach or what they say, I would say there will be 3 or 4 main principles or 3 or 4 main ideas about their philosophy. The first one is that they believe that in order to teach anything or anyone, you need to show it by example. In other words, they don't recommend what we call preaching, but they really recommend the idea of that whatever you say, you have to demonstrate yourself.
That's number one point?
That's number one. The number 2 point is that they believe that nothing is arbitrary, nothing is random on the planet Earth. Everything that is happening has a kind of a plan behind the scenes before you arrive to the planet Earth.
Wow, that's good.
In other words, if you go through certain experiences, you have certain amount of choices in the experiences, but only limited amount of choices. And the idea is that if you see life in that way, You basically have to take responsibility to your experiences because they are there to design for you in order to do what they call your learning and your contribution. So the Essene sees the purpose in life as really completing what they call the reincarnation cycle. And that completion, it means that you've done enough of your learning and enough of your contribution till, as they say, you don't come anymore to the planet Earth as a human being. You still, as a spirit, you live in different dimensions, but not on the planet Earth. I would say, for my own way, what we would call the Bible of the Essenes, because by the word Bible, it means unchangeable. The Essene comes only with one thing that they say that is the truth. Everything else is changeable. And their idea of the truth is that, as they say, all consciousness, all spirits, all human beings would like really to experience what they call the oneness, would like to experience the togetherness. And our bridge to experience this oneness is what we call love. So when Jesus came to the planet Earth, he said to people that God is love and love is God. And that's not really the most accurate thing. And he did it on purpose because one cannot really say God is oneness and oneness is God. But the bridge from us to the oneness is the bridge of love. And the Essene found out through certain experiences that they had that the world, if we call it like this, or the universe, divided to 7 types of energies. And each of these energies is a kind of an ingredient in the oneness. So there is, for instance, the energy of compassion. There is the energy of trust. There is the energy of wisdom, just as an example. These are 3 types of energies that if you take that experience of oneness, which is the experience of God, and you kind of try to dissect it like a surgeon, and you want to see what is there, this is what you're going to find. So through a lot of soul searching, a lot of knowledge, a lot of high level of involvement as spirits, they discover these types of energy and how they work together.
How did they see God? I mean, the Bible came out with the concept
Yes.
that God is a kindly old man
Yes.
sitting on a throne surrounded by
Yes.
angels. But of
Yes.
course, you know,
Yes.
we've come a long way since that outdated thought.
Well, yes.
So, how do the Essenes describe their when they call it the oneness?
Yes. Yes.
How do they see God?
Well, this is probably the most fundamental question that anyone can ask, really, when we're talking about these things. And I can give you quite a few variations, but there is something fundamentally that always a kind of there in their description. They say very, very often that God as God does not exist. There is the experience of God. And the idea of it, this is my understanding, the idea of it is that we're not going to separate ourselves from that word God by saying there is somewhere God. Because the moment that you say there is someone God, there is no oneness anymore.
Yeah.
There is at least 2, you and that someone God. So God is described as an experience. And one can describe it as the pure love. One can describe it, sometimes they say to people, say to Spirit very often, what does it actually mean, love, which means, in a way, God? And Spirit will give, for instance, an example. When you give a hand to someone, you try to be together. When you actually keep the hand for a while, and you actually feel that your hand and the other person's hand is one hand, you experience God. Because 2 becomes 1. So in the case, for instance, when the Essene taught math, they didn't teach that 1 + 1 = 2, but they taught that 1 + 1 = 1. You understand, that is the understanding of the oneness. The oneness is that 2 or more becomes 1.